back once again.
Delighted to be here.
Now, you just came in on a Ducati
Street Fighter V4.
Street Fighter V4. And how'd you come up with that?
Well, it was a auction. Iconic. They've got. It was listed as a extremely overbuilt Ducati Street Fighter that a gentleman in Las Vegas apparently poured a ton of money into, and realized it wasn't for him. I was like, all right, I'm willing to sell it. And I saw it. I was like, I'm going to throw in a lowball bid. There's no way I'm going to be the winning bidder. I didn't even want to be around when the auction closed because I was expecting to be outbid. Someone's going to drop at least 30 grand for it. And I got a missed call because I was writing at the time. And I got a call from Abby at Iconic saying, hey, you're the high bidder. Where's the money?
That's crazy.
It was $26,000 for a bike that probably has about like 38, 39K invested into it between the customized racing components, the ECU flash, because every carbon option out there, and so
the clear clutch
cover, and the wheels were also like custom painted as well. It was taken off, stripped, and then painted, then sealed. The whole thing is just a ridiculous.
And the crazy part is the mileage.
230 miles when I got it. Like literally like 2 tanks of gas, maybe.
It's a good looking bike.
It's a great bike.
Have you been riding it a lot?
It's we're almost at 2,000 miles. So
nice.
I like putting miles on my machine. I feel sad when I hear these auctions that are like, oh, this is like the fastest bike from 1996 that's got 2 miles on it. I'm like, I don't get it. I understand why they do it kind of, but it's like, why would you? It's like, it's no longer the fastest bike anywhere. It's just another like 100 horsepower motorcycle. It's like, you want it to be, these things are meant to be used. There's artwork that's meant to be just pretty. You look at it. That's just regular art.
Right.
Motorcycles, performance cars, I think they're meant to be used. It has all this potential that just never gets used. It's just tragic.
But it's crazy how like when, what's that, the people that appraise, they travel the United States, right, and then they appraise people's, blah, 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 blah. And it's, you hear these stories that are mind-boggling. Like I was watching this one guy, he was a veteran, he was in Vietnam, he bought a Rolex, he saw his captain wear a Rolex, and he was like, I want a Rolex. He finally got the money, bought the Rolex, wore it 3 times, and saved it. And then they were like, oh, look, your watch, this is a good year, and this year they only did this and that, and the blah, blah, blah. And, this is easily $470,000. But because you have the box and the paperwork and this, that, you can easily get $750,000. And the guy faints and he goes, no, get up. But because it's this limited edition, this is $1.3 to $1.5 million. You're like,
there's a whole collector world that's into this sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I never got into it, but
right.
It's like, where's the division of don't ride your shit and store it or ride your shit? Because
so here's my view of it. Like for every one of those, there's going to be a bunch that's worth nothing. So if you hang on to it, actually, I have the perfect anecdote to this. When an old roommate of mine, he had the interesting experience of actually watching someone become a hoarder. Because usually when you hear about hoarders, they've already been hoarders for years. They've got all this shit, and it's a nightmare. So he was, his girlfriend at the time, mother, was retired, maybe 60 something, and she had a hobby. She was a high functioning person, had a good job, and she had a hobby of going to swap meets, and she would go and buy find things that are on a good price, fix it up, clean, sell it, and whatever. And so she's in this community of swap meet people, and someone in her community,
swap meet people,
yeah, right. They go to these like garage sale swap meets, looking for stuff, looking for value and like old whatever. So someone in her community, someone she, not even one of her friends, but someone she kind of knows. Yeah, friends of friends, bought an old kind of plaster ceramic cat or something. It just looked like some kitschy like decoration, whatever thingy. It was an estate sale. No one knew who it was. It was Grandpa so and so's, and then she dropped it. It turned out it was solid gold underneath. This crappy plaster cat it was solid gold. It was maybe about $10,000 worth of gold bullion. And it's all of a sudden this thing that she got it was really heavy. Like, no, I didn't think plaster would be that heavy. And then it breaks and it's like, oh shit. And so here's the weird part. This mother, she hears about this thing, and ever since that moment, she's going to swap meet after. She's trying to recreate that magic for herself. And then so he watched this woman that was high functioning before, that had like guest bedrooms in her house. Every bedroom started getting filled up with stuff. She was going to meet after meet of trying to find, well, this guy must have had some other stuff, and da-da-da. And it was interesting watching the transformation of somebody from a regular person who was able to have stuff and get rid of it to, well, anything that I might buy could be worth like 30x what I paid for it. So I can't get rid of anything. I got to really scan everything. That transformation.
Right. It sounds like a gambling mentality.
Right.
Like when you hit that jackpot the first time and you want to chase
that.
You want. I call it chasing the white dragon.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh no, we can't leave yet. One more hand.
Right.
And it's true. One more hand.
Theoretically, right?
The right hand.
Yeah, of course.
And funny story, it happened to me recently.
Yeah.
Recently, I was in Vegas. I had a bad run, and I'm like at the last $100, and I'm doing like $20 hands. Okay, so it's 5 hands left.
Wow.
My host comes by, and I go, dude, what the fuck's wrong with your machines, man? Like if I lose, fine, but like everybody's complaining in this room,
right?
You know, and this is like a room,
right? And
people are yelling, and like something's wrong. And he goes, Robert, all it is one good hand.
Yeah.
You know, one good spin.
Right.
Because this is, machines.
Yeah.
My last 20. So get to my last 20. I recovered everything back. Everything back and some, and then went to dinner. Nice. And that was the end of the day. But yeah, you're chasing the white dragon.
Chasing it. So I think that's the thing is
that happens with cryptocurrency and
everything.
Stocks and
so you got to kind of also manage your own energy levels, because at some level you hear these stories and then you go, well, I can't put anything else, anything, and then you're just that guy that's nervously looking at over all your stuff. What's the point of ultimately imagine you have that, you sell that Rolex for $1 million. What would you do with that $1 million that you didn't have before? You didn't earn it necessarily, right? I mean, it'd be one thing to say you build a business, you sell a service, a product, and whatever. You have enough of a markup that you have $1 million surplus. You have to work toward it. You get it, and then you have plans for it. You're going to buy something with it, something nice that you'll actually use. At some point, the money's meant to be used, and that's kind of how I view it. Is you don't want to just simply put everything and this theoretical, it might be worth a lot down the line, and therefore everything must be put in like these mothball boxes and whatever. People that won't let you sit on their furniture because it's going to ruin their leather.
Yeah,
it's dude,
it's not a good way to live.
It's a terrible way to live, I think, because then it's that scarcity mentality. It's like, this is the last good thing that ever happened to me, so I can't let any loss happen. And I think that mentality is what, and I think this is something as an immigrant that I've thought a lot about, because my parents hate spending money. If you're watching, it's and I kind of get it. When we first came to America, we were poor. Like my early memory of when I was 6-7 years old, when we first came to America, my father was he worked at a grocery store. He was working the midnight to 7 a.m. shift at a grocery store because that was the only job that it was funny. He went to Taipei, which is Taiwan's #1 university. He was an orphan that fled China during the Cultural Revolution, went to Taiwan, was at the bottom of Taiwanese society, clawed his way into the #1 university as an orphan raised by his older brothers. It's like some kid from Compton getting into Stanford. No, special whatever thing, just clawed your way in. Graduated, had a great bank job, 30 years old, getting married, and then came to America. It's like, first of all, like, why would you do this? Why would you throw away that win? I mean, we're parents.
Right.
Like, if you had money and status and you started from nothing, you're like a freaking refugee, your parents are dead ever since you were 6 years old, and you've made it. Like, why would you walk away? I know I wouldn't. Yeah. I would never walk away from that. But I'm grateful they did, because I have the life that I have. And I remembered, like, we would have, he would drive his little crappy old Buick that he had. It was like this gigantic beast that was getting like 12 miles a gallon. And he would work the midnight to 7 a.m. shift from, and then because where we lived, where school was, and his job was so far apart, there wasn't time for him to go back home to pick me up to go to school. So he just said, sleep in the back of the car, and then pull the blanket over your head, and we got to go to the bathroom, pee by that tree over there, and then come back in the car and lock up. And so that's what I did for about a couple months. But because, now they're comfortable, they're retired. My father, picked up a real estate license, did a bunch of good stuff, good investments. And so he's comfortable, but even then he has that mentality where when he sees me spending money, he's like, no, why would you do that? There's a cheaper option. There's always a cheaper option. Why would you not take the cheapest option? What's wrong with you? It's like, okay, just.
I got friends like that they'll spend, but they're even stranger. Yeah. They'll spend $2 to save 50 cents.
Right.
Like, they'll be like, wait a minute, I can get this across town 50 cents cheaper.
And so you spend that much in gas.
And they'll spend an hour to drive across town.
What's the value of your time, bro?
Yeah, but they can't. It's like, no.
Right, I can't pay full retail price.
I could save 50 cents on this. Yeah. Fuck this.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Every time I buy something online and I see a coupon thing, I always try all these different coupon codes. It doesn't work. And I go, oh no, I got to pay full price. I feel badly, even though it's like I can afford. It's like, it's a $5 item. Oh, I got to find a coupon code. No coupon code. So looking online, Googling for it it's a weird instinct.
My thing that I've been recommending to a lot of people, this is not financial advice or anything. I just think the benefits are insane. But the crypto.com Crypto.com arena, right?
Yes.
So I've been hooked on Crypto.com before they even launched that. And
Nice.
I bought in at a good time.
Very good.
But what they offer right now that I have one of their cards is, but they have a staking program that if you stake X amount of money. So right now my card is I stake about $4,000.
Yep.
And they give me a debit card.
Yep.
I load it up. I get 3% cash back on everything. Everything.
Sounds good.
A buddy of mine just did the $40,000 one. So you're just staking it.
Right.
You know, if it
It's
goes
still
up,
there,
goes down,
basically.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're just staking it. He gets 5% cash back.
Oh, shit.
And we were at the outlet.
Yeah.
And he was looking at Hugo Boss and
Yeah.
he was buying something, and there was like a sale where it was like 60% off plus
Right.
an additional 20% off.
All stacking
and
all the
men's
shit
item,
together.
this off.
Yeah.
So he's like, "This is crazy. This is crazy."
Yeah.
And then he pays with his card, and he
Right.
gets 5% more
Of that back, right.
And I would, dude, it's
like,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
And you could pay your bills like this.
Yeah. It's worth checking out. I've been thinking about it. I haven't picked it up yet. So it's the sad thing is I was into crypto a long time ago, and
that's kind of how you
dumped.
Can we say it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
For another time, but yeah, no, it's one of these things that's like, for the longest time it was like this weird magic bullshit internet money. It's like, okay, well, let's turn it into something real, because who knows, it might just go back to zero again. That was
Right.
a lot of the mentality. A lot
Even
of guys
now,
I knew back
even
then.
now.
I think now there's enough institutional support that's not, the likelihood of the major alpha coins going to zero is pretty much eliminated. The altcoins, but I think the major ones, the Bitcoin and Cardano and Ethereum are going to be around in some form.
Binance and stuff like that.
Anyway,
But I think it's like the stock market. You're never going to be satisfied because you sold on time, or you didn't sell on time, or you didn't buy enough, or you shouldn't have. You're never going.
You're going to second guess yourself to death, and this is the one. It's the same version of what we were saying before. Like, you know, if you start obsessing over like trying to catch the perfect, buying it at the very bottom and then selling at the very top, you're going to be that neurotic person, that rich neurotic person. Even if you are rich, which statistically most likely you're not going to sell at the top and buy at the very bottom, which means you won't be the rich person you imagine, and then you're just going to be the neurotic version of a guy with more money than you.
Yeah.
Like, why would you want that? Why would you want to be more neurotic, and then whatever money you have, then you're more paranoid about losing? Because now, let's say I have $10 million, I'm down 10%, I'm down $1 million, and then people are like this, and it's.
When people are forcing it or so desperate, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I just watched a little Instagram post yesterday of Shaquille O'Neal. And Shaquille O'Neal is like one of my first big investments was Google.
Yes.
And it wasn't because I went for Google. It's just because I just played a game. I was at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and these gentlemen were talking about this Google search engine.
Oh my
and
gosh.
You type this in and you type that out. And he was like, "Hey, I want to know about this." And they were like, "What's up, Shaq? Yeah, blah, 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 blah." And then he just bought in. And the point was, it was just being at the right time at the right place.
Right.
It's not that he fucking saw the future and predicted it all, you know. And people try to force duplicate this on easy money, on easy money, and it's like there's many ways of making money, but people don't want to take that route.
The hard paths are always unsexy and boring. The people want the easy stuff. They want to have like magic, lottery numbers or whatever. It's the fantasy, I think, of unearned wealth. Which the weird thing I think is that the more unearned money is, the more likely you're going to lose it. You didn't earn it, and therefore, at some level, at some part of your brain, you recognize it, and so there isn't the instinct to lock in your gains. You just spend it the way you earned it, casually, haphazardly.
Easy come, easy go.
Whereas I think the smarter thing to do, if you come into unearned money, would be to bank it, invest it, figure out that, understand that you lucked into it, and so don't get cocky, don't get high on your supply, and find ways to build more enduring, recurring sources of revenue. It sounds boring, but it's I think that's the smarter way to lock in wins and ensure that the windfalls don't just simply disappear in a puff of smoke. Because I see a lot of guys do that. They have early crypto wins, and it's like, I gotta get my Lamborghini or whatever. That's it. And the thing is that the current contemporary social media environment really encourages that. You know, you see these crypto bros, driving around in fancy cars and talking about crazy exotic vacations, hiring a bunch of prostitutes to make it look like they're super baller players. And it's like, I think at some level we all have our own insecurities. We all feel like we could be doing better. We want more money. We want more beautiful women in our lives, whatever. But if you don't end up kind of managing your own egos, keep yourself in check, be better grounded, more money is just going to put a giant like gasoline on this fire underneath of you that all your insecurities would just get magnified. You'll blow through it. You're not going to get happier. And now you'll be in debt with probably some tax problems or whatever. It's better to just stack, be be gracious, be humble, and be curious, constantly learning. And I think that's the best kind of attitude that ironically will ensure more wealth coming your way, because the kind of people who might stumble into wealth because they've got a chip on their shoulder or whatever, they tend to blow through it.
It's just, I think about little things that my grandfather would tell me, and he'd say like, the point of the story was there's 7 years of fat cows.
Yes.
So
the old Exodus story from the Bible, yeah.
But get ready for the 7 years of the skinny cows.
Right.
And protect yourself like that.
Yeah.
And I understand that balance, but I feel the way people are spending money or the way people are living nowadays, it's so much different.
Oh, yeah.
Because people are, in some ways, people are minimizing their expenses, like not buying a house, not doing this, not getting into bigger debts. But then in other ways, we're buying all this materialistic bullshit.
There's two separate tracks, I think, and there are people that,
as you and I talk about with our multiple helmets and multiple motorcycles,
we're probably in that category in our own way, but we're saving, we're providing for our families and whatnot, and there's a balance. But I think there's two separate demographics. The Instagram, there's a world of a lot of it's performative. A lot of the fancy stuff you see, they're not even owned by the people showing them off. They're rented. Everything is a prop. There are, in fact, a photo studio I remember seeing. This is one of these things that blew my mind. They actually have like a fake private jet photo studio where you can look like you're on a private jet for Instagram influencers.
Downtown LA or something.
You can go there and act like, ooh, I'm being served a fancy drink. I'm on a private jet. It's literally you're paying to rent a fake prop to make it look like you're on a private plane, which
that's insane.
And that's a business. You can actually make business charging wannabe influencers who clearly can't afford to be on a private jet or haven't been invited to one, and it makes them look like they're big time players. Oh my gosh. And then they'll do a check-in and I'm on the beach in Puerto Vallarta. It's just Redondo Beach, but you're just like, you just gotta crop out all the
all you put was a Corona next to you.
I'm in Puerto Vallarta, I do a check-in, I just changed the location. It's but it's all performative. And so I think at some level, we end up, there's that saying of how we judge others by what they present, and we judge ourselves by what we are. We judge others by what they show, and we judge ourselves by what we are inside. And so there's a constant comparison. We see their highlight reels. We see their most shiny, most well-presented, and quite possibly fake version of themselves. But we know exactly how much money we have. We know exactly, even if you have a fancy bike, if it breaks down, it's like, I got to fix this, and this thing sucks, and this thing is... We know the frustrations that come with our toys, our lives, our houses, whatever supposedly luxurious things we have. We don't see that. You don't hear the guy with the Bugatti complaining about how, the tires wear out at 500 miles or whatever. I mean, they're very soft rubber tires. They wear out immediately. You don't see it, and they're not going to sit there online and cry and complain about how
gas prices,
right?
Oh man,
right? An oil change in a Lamborghini is about $2,000. Did you know that?
I just picked up a Tesla, the newer one.
Nice.
I don't care for any fucking car in the world. I don't care.
Okay,
it's the fastest thing in the world. You want to race me? I'll race you. It's the first vehicle I've ever had that performs better, not better, but it performs just as good as a motorcycle. If I need to get in front and zip through and just, it's got the power.
Maximum
and
torque.
At 80, 90 miles an hour, if I need more, it's more.
It's got it in the tank.
And Joe Rogan said it, it makes other cars feel stupid. I get in my truck, it's and I like my truck because it's so different.
Right.
They're
contrast.
It's a pickup truck and it's got the old shit. But the Tesla, fuck Lamborghini or I don't care.
It's a different experience, and I think what's going to happen in the future is we're going to have they're going to be enthusiasts that like gasoline-powered vehicles, and it's going to be all performance cars. It's going to be people that like stick shifts and whatnot. But the market for Accords and Camrys, that's just going to go.
Oh, it's going to plummet.
That's going to plummet.
Well, that's different.
Right.
I think they're still going to exist to a certain extent, just for the simple fact that the reason the Accords and the Civics and all that stuff, were so popular is because people would customize them to make them look like an expensive car.
That's maybe 5% of the Honda sales. The average Honda owner doesn't do that, right?
Yeah,
they're the most visible things you see, but
that's true.
The average, they just blend in the background. You don't notice it unless it's.
Yeah, they want it. The thing's reliable. It does 500,000 miles.
My parents they were buying Honda after Honda after Honda. It's like a reliable vehicle, and of course they don't modify it. That's a waste of money. Yeah, but then they would drive it to like 150,000 miles, and then it's like, okay, it's ready to die. All right, we're gonna buy another one, and then they just ride that down up to like 100,000 miles. That's been their entire existence, and it's great.
Yeah,
but I think that will go away because if you don't care about performance, if you just want to go from point A to point B, inexpensive, minimal, ongoing maintenance costs, the electric vehicles, I think, will definitely gobble up that marketplace. Tesla's certainly doing a fantastic job of it. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm seeing it.
My brother would call me up and he'd be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm customizing the Harley."
Yeah.
He's all cool, man. Then he'd call me up. "What are you doing?" I go, "Oh, I'm ordering some parts for the truck and stuff." And he's okay. And then, "What are you doing?" And then, this and that. And he's like, "Dude, can you buy something that you don't have to customize?" And I know, man, I can. And I want to have my personalized elements vehicle to it. And list. Fuck off. And that was the end of the conversation.
Yeah. Well, then have you customized your Tesla? You haven't.
Yeah, I'm getting the windows tinted on. I'm getting the windows tinted on Monday. Made that appointment. And then, that there's nothing else to do.
Exactly.
It's got.
And if they had that as an option,
it's got two TVs. It's got everything. Yeah. It's the craziest thing in the world.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
And then I want to bring this up. Wednesday.
Yes.
Wednesday was cool, huh?
Yes, that was awesome.
Where were we Wednesday?
Bike Shed. I've been to the London one. No, well, the Bike Shed LA is the extension of a brand that was already established in London many years ago. I went to it actually in 2019, the London Bike Shed, and it's a fun community. It's that they've managed to build a sort of, it's basically it's a group for those who don't want to be a part of a motorcycle club. Right. It's the MC for non-MC people. I mean, there are guys that want to ride, right? And it's an interesting niche that they've managed to kind of really, really dominate. And so they've gotten a brand that's so powerful that when they throw their Bike Shed annual events, they can draw 20,000 people around the world. That's coming up next month for them in London. And so that's something that I was there in 2019 on my way to visit the Isle of Man TT. So that was a fun experience. Stop by there, then head on up to the Isle. Fantastic experience. Saw some amazing machines. Met some cool people. And it was a good event. Originally the bike show was supposed to be opening in LA in 2020, but because of the pandemic, and then there was all these like half open. Well, it's not going to open. No, we're going to open. No, we can't do it. Apparently, and this is the speech that Dutch gave when we were on the members opening night. He said that they got their liquor license like 2 hours before they officially opened.
Oh, for Thursday?
Yeah, apparently. I have a feeling that if they didn't get that permit, they would have just opened and just be like, okay, we'll just eat the fine because we're not going to have a bunch of people show up and no, we're not serving liquor. It's like, no, we're just serving. We'll just eat the fine later. But fortunately, 2 hours before, they actually apparently got their liquor license formally approved, so they were just barely kosher.
That's amazing. I love what they did. Yeah. I really love the simple fact that I went Friday. I had like 4 or 5 people send me flyers.
Yeah.
And, could show up. I showed up.
Yeah.
I was hooked. I was like, man, barber shop, nice store, clean, you know, tattoo shop, beautiful bar, friendly people. Yeah. You don't get that shitty biker thing that you find out in other bars where it's like everybody's way too cool. Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
What do you want to drink, man? Hold on.
Right.
Everybody's
it's all kind of performative and cringe. And it's like, no, they're very friendly.
Very friendly.
It's very professional. I think they're good ambassadors for the riding community, which is awesome because I feel like sometimes there's some kind of gruff types that are like, oh, you're not a real rider or whatever. It's like,
dude, you look at your bike. You have 2,000 miles and it's 10 years old. You're not a rider. And that's what's crazy. It's like you have, on brand new expensive bikes, you have more mileage than most people.
Yeah.
You look at my bikes between the BMW and the Harley, which are 2 years old. I'm almost at 30,000.
Yeah. Right.
But I don't look like a biker,
Right.
I'm not all
sleeve tabs,
and I don't have a fucking skull on my face, and therefore it's like one of my buddies calls me up and he does commercials on the Spanish networks.
Okay,
and he's like, I'm doing a music video for so and so. We're looking for the biker look.
Okay,
and I'm like, bro, you can't get more biker than me. Like I got vest. Well, the look, we're going more like, dude, okay. Anyway.
You got to look like an extra from Sons of Anarchy, and it's like,
right. So then I referred a bunch of my friends. That's like,
who have the aesthetic.
Yeah, exactly. But they're all new writers, which is crazy, But they're doing good. Like shout out to my buddy Trevor, Bulletproof Welder. He's fucking killing it. Nice. He's making a name for himself, and he's doing more. He's doing better than most people that I know that jump into the game.
That's awesome.
But Bike Shed, what I like about that is, when you go and you meet up usually some Harley riders, everybody's nice. But there's always this like, oh, you have to have beers in your saddlebags. Right. You have to go to this event. You got to dress like this.
Right.
And that sometimes doesn't fit with me.
Right.
Or most of the time it doesn't fit with me. And then with the BMW, everybody's so fucking technical. Everybody's so like, it's better to run your BMW at 5,000 RPMs between the speeds. And it's like, dude, you're getting too technical.
Right.
Like, let's just enjoy it's the journey, not the destination.
But some people that's what they geek out about. That's what
they do geek out,
and it's like, all right,
but it gets when you start judging people by their geekiness.
Annoying. It's like, you didn't know about this. You know the peak RPM is and then you can do this. Like,
why are you using your back brake? You're not supposed to. Like,
They're nitpicking you because it's a sense of wanting to feel superior. Right. It's like, I know something you don't, and therefore I'm not really giving you advice. I'm letting you know that I know more than you. Right. And I'm just kind of wrapping it in this patronizing kind of a thing. And it's like, well, first of all, I didn't ask for advice, one. And two, like, okay, you know more than me. Congratulations. Here's your cookie.
And if you're going to show me something, there's ways of showing it without being a dick. Without being a dick about it. But the point is,
the point of it is being a dick. Right. It's flexing on you. It's like, I know more than you, and you're not even worthy of this machine. I know more about this than you do, and I don't even ride one of these things. It's But so far with Bike Shed, I haven't seen that. Got that vibe.
So number one, I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Number two, everybody's super friendly, super fucking
cool. Good vibe. Let's keep that.
I like the fact that most people have multiple bikes. Yeah. Most people have been riding for a long time.
Yeah.
Shit, it's not cheap and it's not expensive, but it's like right there. It's gonna weave out a lot of fucking people.
Right.
So I like the community. I like the members lounge. Yeah. I like the green room. I like the upstairs. I really want to do like 2-3 events. I want to do.
I've got some events I already got in my head as well.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing my birthday there. I'm thinking about doing an art show. Because you went to the art show last time.
That was an amazing art show. Yeah,
beautiful. Imagine it right there. That would fucking work.
That would be nice.
That'd be so fucking beautiful. And then just have a bunch of people bring like beautiful bikes, and then the regular guests are gonna be like, "Whoa, this is so awkward and weird, but cool." Yeah, for sure. So there's so much potential for that fucking spot.
Absolutely. We're actually on the topic. One thing that we're going to be doing, still in the process, but there's two parts of an event I'm planning now for upcoming. I was able to secure a early showing of the upcoming movie, finally, Top Gun Maverick. Everyone else, you're going to be watching it in theaters on May 27th. Was able to secure permission from Paramount Studios to show it 2 days early. We're going to show it.
On the 25th?
25th. May 25th, Wednesday. Literally the first in the world to see it in theaters.
2 days prior to
the world.
In a private theater.
In a private theater, fully kitted out. And so that
So that's locked in.
That's locked in. We're looking at exactly what we need to do to make it probably we'll have to make it a members only event at the Bike Shed. We want to do an event there we're going to watch Top Gun 1. There, kind of get caught up, right? Watch it together, big screen, popcorn, drinks, whatever.
I fucking love it.
Yes. And then after that, we close up, get on our bikes, and ride into the theater to watch Top Gun 2.
Oh, the same day?
Same day. We're going to do it the same day. So it's going to be the afternoon. So this is people who have the flexibility to watch Top Gun 1. It would be like maybe 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Everyone kind of wraps up. And then we get on our bikes, and then we roll right into the theater.
Is the awesome
screen time for the show is going to be 6:30, so we'll have enough time to kind of get settled in.
So what are the details? Is this the Top Gun 1? It's going to be a Bike Shed thing.
Bike Shed, and maybe members only. We may be able to an existing member may be allowed to bring in X number of guests. I mean, I'm a member. I can bring in a few
plus
guests.
One, plus two.
Plus one. Yeah. So we figured that part out. And then that's still not confirmed yet, by the way. I need to get permission from Bike Shed, so I don't want to preemptively announce it. And it turns out it can't work, but we're working on it. It should happen. And then so that's we're doing that. And then the formal event, the fundraiser for the Citizen Medic Foundation, that starts at 6:30.
Citizen Medic,
yes.
You said, right? What's Citizen Medic?
Citizen Medic is a nonprofit organization that I founded in 2010. Excuse me. The idea occurred to me in 2010. I gave a TED Talk on it in 2013. It's formally incorporated in 2019. And we teach first aid and disaster preparedness to people outside the medical community, getting people from level 0 to level 1, getting people literate. And so this particular project, this fundraiser, is raising money for a project of increasing first aid literacy for motorcycle riders.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in a pretty dangerous activity, and the 99% of riders don't know anything about how to patch a wound, how to slow down a bleed, how to deal with emergency response, what information to tell them.
You know which one that caught me, that blew my mind away, that people always default to, is if somebody has an accident and, like, let's say a screwdriver's in their fucking leg or a metal bar or something.
Right.
Naturally, everybody's
trying to yank it out.
Is to yank it out. And it's so dumb. It's not dumb. It's just it's silly that we don't go further into thinking, but it's human nature to pull it out.
It's something that's not supposed to be there. It's like, well, that's also holding in their blood. So if you yank it out with nothing to patch it up, all of a sudden he's leaking X amount of blood. Now it's like 5X that.
Exactly. And that's the simple stuff that I do appreciate about first aid. I used to be a lifeguard. I used to do our first aid CPR classes all the time. The other one, very simple, but once you go to a class, you're like, oh, okay, but people don't practice.
Right.
Is when there's an emergency, you can't say, someone call 911.
You with the black shirt, call 911.
Nobody's going to do it.
Exactly.
Everybody's assuming somebody else is do it. So
and then nobody does it. It's like 10 minutes later. Why didn't anyone call? Well, I thought someone else was going to call. And now you got 10 minutes passes by the time they show up.
You got a point, just like you said, black shirt, hat, call night,
it could be anybody, but now that responsibility is on an individual, not just diffused. So these are things we want to do. We're going to have a series of classes both at the bike shed and also Dainese in LA. So we're going to have basically free workshops because the other problem is that, and you've sat in these first aid classes, is that the conventional class, which is designed around a certificate, you finish a 5-hour class and you get the certificate to go through a whole bunch of modules for them to issue you that certificate that says that you've completed all these courses. Ask a writer to sit down and listen to a lecture for 5 hours, and 99% would be like, yeah, you know what, I'm out.
Yeah.
And I get it, right? It's like, it's just, there's a lot of stuff that if, like infant CPR, if you don't have a kid, it's useless to you. If you have a kid, you care a lot about it. But if you don't, it's like, it's just considered a waste of time. And that's a lot of these things are not going to be relevant for a writer. And so what we're doing is a non-certificate class, about 45 minutes. And it's specifically focused around trauma related to bike injuries, period.
That is good.
And that way, it's enough time.
You're not going to have a CPR doll in the lounge. To the bar.
That comes later.
That comes later.
I think that's the whole idea, is getting people from level 0 to level 1. And because conventional first aid education is so much about focusing on getting that cert. Everyone needs to get a cert. It's like, well, most people, I've taught these classes before. People that are there for the cert, they're there because their job requires it. No one gets it. Very few people get it just because, it'd be a useful thing to do. People sit in a 5-hour class because if you don't get the cert, you don't get to keep your job. That's why I like being a lifeguard, being a babysitter, being, flight attendants, personal trainer. A lot of these jobs, they require the cert, and if your cert expires, you lose your job. You have to re-up, and that's why people do it. And it's like, that's fine. That itself is a business, but beyond that, who among us wouldn't want to be able to save the life of someone we love? I mean, like, that's universal. Unless you're some complete, like, Ted Kaczynski recluse, there's going to be people you love that you'd be devastated if you're just sitting around with your hands in your pocket watching them die. And so we're trying to fill that gap, basically. As an organization, our job is to fill that gap.
It's super important. And it feels good. I saved this lady's life. I was at a banquet hall, and it was somebody's birthday. And, it was an Armenian banquet hall, so lots of food, lots of alcohol, lots of everything. And this lady gets up, and remember, Armenian men are tough.
Yeah,
and they smoke. They're tough men.
Yeah.
This lady gets up and starts choking. Oof. Everybody started screaming like girls. Started screaming like girls. Everybody's jumping on phones. It's people. Fuck the police too. Everybody's calling 911.
Oh
right?
boy. Okay. Well, at least that part's done.
Yeah. So that part, but everybody was in a panic,
out.
And I just run up to her, grab her. Do
the Heimlich maneuver.
Gets it out, coughs it out.
Nice.
Save her. Everybody and then they're very giving people. So everybody was like, here, and this, and take that, and this. It was crazy. But it's amazing that in a room of, let's say, over 100 people,
you're the only one
knew what to do.
The one non-Armenian,
and the one non-Armenian guy, right? And it's funny because you think, if I was to guess, there was probably Whatever. That's
there might be, but the point of it is getting people up to that speed and think. So that's the foundation's purpose. And so we're doing a fundraising event. So Top Gun is going to be amazing. We have, as we're speaking, there's an AGV helmet being painted with the Maverick colors. That's going to be one of our auction items.
That's beautiful.
I was on the phone earlier with a gentleman who may be able to get us. He has a pilot friend who owns a World War II's era fighter plane, and he says we might have that as an auction item for a ride up in a World War II plane around up. Wow. There's a lot of fun auction items we're working on, basically. That's going to be a lot of fun. We have and we'll have a lovely hostess who is a former Miss Wisconsin who will be she'll be the hostess, greeting the guest and everything, and her hair will be done up in the style of Kelly McGinnis from the original Top Gun movie.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun evening of nostalgia. And
how do we sign up for this? I know it's on the TV screen, but there's also the podcast listeners.
Yes.
What's the site?
How do we register? The website is going to be topgun.eventbee, B-E-E, like the insect.com. So it's topgun.eventb, as in boy, E-E.com. And we'll put in the show notes as well so that it'll be easy for people to click through.
And is it just a flat rate, or is there different?
There's a couple of tiers. We're going to have we put the sponsored tickets as the Viper tickets and the Jester tickets. Those are going to be for probably more of the corporate. We're talking to a few corporations about this, and then the regular. There's the fully reclining seats in the back, which will be $160, and then there's the seats in the front, which are kind of half recline, and those will be, I think, about $105, $120, I think. Awesome. So those we're going to have. It's a finite number of seats, 70 seats total, and that's it. We're probably going to be sold out by the end of April. So that's the short version, and yeah, we're super excited. It's going to be an amazing night, and we've got a couple of the fun surprises I'm working on that we'll be able to show once we get all the confirms of the folks on the other side. So it's going to be an amazing event.
That's very exciting. Yeah. I know everybody listening to this, everybody at the bike show we were just talking about on the weekend ride and on Wednesday. Very exciting.
Yeah.
It's been a long... When was Top Gun out? 1988, 87?
1986. May 12th, 1986. That was when Top Gun...
Was it?
Yes.
Tom Cruise looks exactly the same.
Not quite, but he aged well. I mean, by the way, have you seen the photos of Kelly McGinnis?
Yes.
Yes. I feel like he's a vampire. He just took her energy.
Pretty much. No, he looks amazing.
He's 55 now, 54? Something so he's definitely mid to early 50s.
Yeah.
Looks insanely good.
Outstanding. Scientology.
Something. But yeah, so I'm really excited to see the plot line, because we're looking at all the trailers, because we've seen all the trailers, right? I mean, the Top Gun was supposed to come out in 2020.
Right.
It's supposed to come out in 2020, and then pandemic hit. Then it's okay, are we going to do digital? No, we're not doing digital. And then it's okay, well, everything is opening up end of the year. Okay, then we'll do. They had 4 or 5 different official release dates. That was supposed to, it's happening, okay. And then, it's not happening. Oh, it's happening. No, it's not happening. And every time it's happening, a new trailer comes out. And it's we're all psyched. No, it's not happening. It's so for now, the last obstacle has been eliminated. And so for sure, opens the public on May 27th. And for us, it will be
May 25th.
May 25th evening. It's going to be an amazing time. And we're super, super psyched about all the little pieces that are all kind of slowly falling in place. I've got a couple of friends actually that are flying in from out of town on their private jets just to come to this thing.
That's amazing.
One from Vegas and one from the Bay Area, and so they've got little prop planes. And I think my friend up in the Bay Area, he's got the Grumman. I can't remember the exact model. Again, I'm not a plane guy, but he's no, this is the World War II era, whatever. It's military themes. Okay, wow, this guy's on point for his airplane transport. I'm that's pretty baller. I'm not in the airplane world.
I wonder how many more airplanes will be flying that week.
Oh man,
what I mean?
Interest in pilot schools are going to go up. Here's a funny thing that people don't realize this, but the original Top Gun, it was designed as a military recruitment. That's why they got the access they did. The U.S. military gave them camera access, and they also had editing privileges, so that we don't want anything that speaks ill of the U.S. military. And I'm old enough that I remembered when Top Gun 1. That's why I know the exact year when Top Gun 1 came out in theaters. They coordinated it so that a whole bunch of military recruiters were actually hanging around outside of movie theaters in their dress whites with clipboards, and tons of like 15, 16-year-old boys would be crowding them. They'd be able to clipboards like, okay, you're 15 now, your birthday is when? Okay, here's your number. I'll call you in like 2 years or whatever. And so they got military recruitment shot up like 70%.
Yeah, but that's also they were doing the football football stadiums and flying in, skydivers, U.S. Army,
But I mean, all that,
and they were paying for that.
Yeah. But I mean, like this thing, just of all the things they've ever done, this just shot it way up in terms of interest in recruitment, the amount of leads they got, and so it's a fascinating thing. I've been thinking about. I mean, even increased military recruitment in other countries. Yeah, everyone, I was talking to a friend from Italy, and he goes, "Yeah, in Italy, the Italian army suddenly got a spike of interest." I was like, "Where did this? Oh, we know why. Okay, okay."
But I wonder how much that plays nowadays, like compared to 20, 30 years ago, because social media is really fucking up a lot of things.
It's very different. So I don't think it'll have the same impact. But
it'll have an impact. There's no question about that.
But the percentage will be not the same.
I would love, like, what percentage would you guess? Like,
I have no idea. That's such
like just to guess. Like, let's say it's sparked up in a point of business, 30% back then.
Right.
Like that's pretty high. 30-40% of your recruitment, it's humongous. Right. That's even too much maybe.
Right.
But now, like what? It's gonna be.
But I think it also may increase, because I know people that are kind of that military mindset, and a lot of them, it's more large. I know the question you're asking. I have a more kind of a meta view of it. Like there's some the kind of people that would have gone to the military before, they're very disillusioned with the way the military is, and so I don't think this will help. It will maybe increase interest in people who are not military people at all, but they want to be like support services. They want to, I get that there's benefits there, and they're there for that. I remember there was a great monologue at the beginning of the movie, another Tom Cruise movie, Jack Reacher, when he was talking about when he was investigating a murder, and he was talking about the murder being a potential in the military. He says there's 4 different kinds of people in the military. There's the kind of people who do it because it's in their blood. Their father did it, their grandfather did it. It's just expected of you. If you're a man and you're in this family, you go in the military. There's the kind of people that do it for the paycheck. They are there because it's benefits. I get college, I get my health insurance, I get the VA afterward. It's a financial decision. There's the third kind, the kind that do it for the flag. It's for patriotism. I want to serve my country. I'm a good American. And finally, there's the fourth type, the kind who just wants a legal excuse to kill people, and it's a convenient way to channel their homicidal urges. So it was a great monologue. I'm kind of butchering it.
But how many people? No, and I see your points. Yeah. Excellent points.
Yeah.
But I heard there's a big statistic that most people that join the military, they don't even see war.
Yeah, that's true.
Over the history of.
That's right. There's maybe about 1% to the military that's actually like what they call tip of the spear. People that are actually, everyone goes to range and shoots and whatever, but it's like how many people are actually in a situation on the battlefield.
Unless you're a Marine.
Right. Marines, Delta, like there are specific people that you're there to do the actual like blowing shit up, killing people, the stuff that military is, the things we associate with the military. But there's a lot of logistics. There's a lot of, for every one of those, you need a bunch of people handling the transport, the refueling, fixing the planes, fixing broken stuff, medical, food. And then everyone's got to get fed. So you got to have the amount of cooks within the military, which are technically uniformed officers and enlisted men, but you're preparing food. So it's a weird, complicated question. And then so obviously with those 4 archetypes, the last 2 are going to probably be the ones that are most interested in the shooty parts of it. The first 2, it's like, okay, look, Dad, I'm in the military. Yeah, I'm a cook, I'm a chef, whatever. I fix the planes. But I'm in the military. I got a uniform. I got a rank. I get discharged with like my honorable discharge for serving my country. But it's the last 2 that I think is the most interesting in terms of both positive and negative stories that come out of it. Is the kind of people that are either like, I'm here to serve. There's a sense of honor and whatnot, and the ones that they like killing. And it's like, well, if I'm a killer in a civilian world, I could get busted. If I put on a uniform and I kind of obey orders and kind of do shit on the slide to off people that I don't like, I can get away with it.
Yeah.
And that's that interestingly, from a military standpoint, that's the person you have to be like most vigilant in screening for. So there's a whole fascinating conversation about that as well. I mean, it's a whole rabbit hole that may be worth going into one day. But that's kind of my own view of military, is that the recruitment. So which of the 4 are you drawing in with these kinds of videos? It's not just like raw numbers.
The Air Force ones is always different. Like the Air Force is always they're known to be like most people that go to the Air Force. They're the smartest. In a sense, the smartest. Yes. Most of them go to NASA afterwards. Yep. They do stuff in government.
Right.
But
they're all different filtering mechanisms. And then, I mean, in this case with Top Gun, they are naval aviators, not Air Force. But yes.
Right. But then you get into stuff like Sicario or something like, wait a minute. Like,
yeah, right?
That's straight motherfucking murder.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of darker stuff that goes on as far as military.
There's military ones that are dark.
Very dark.
Fucking dark.
Yeah. I don't think Sicario had like any sort of formal approval from like any U.S. military.
And I love how in all those movies, it's always like the closest brothers, the backstabber.
Of course.
Like, I'm sleeping with your wife too. What the fuck? You backstab me and you're sleeping with my wife.
Well, it makes better dramatic story arcs, right? If it's just some random
but it's always the same thing. It's always like, brother, they did us wrong.
Yeah.
I have a friend that knows somebody that works for government that's doing bad.
And it turns out to be the guy that says like, right.
Not again. You got me.
Yeah. I guess I like the movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith because it kind of makes fun of that dynamic, right? They're both secret agent assassins that happen to be married, or thinking they were married to a civilian, and it's like, oh my God, you too. What?
I had no idea. I have access to all the information in the whole wide world, and so do you, but we didn't know. What? Because love. But I'm going to kill you now. Nah. Yeah, that's always.
It was a good movie. It was a fun. It made fun of that dynamic. I think it goes into that in a very goofy and fun, if somewhat comical way.
I just saw I just saw this movie called Moonstructure.
Okay.
Yeah, Moonstructure.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, it's very. It's an interesting movie.
Okay.
It's all realistic. That I don't want. It's kind of a spoiler, but it's not a spoiler. But it's some kind of AI at the end of the day or something, right? But the point of the movie, the reason it just reminded me of it is there's a lot of military presence. Right. There's a lot of NASA. Yeah. Obviously, it's the moon, but it was obviously they didn't have enough time to film it like a Netflix movie where you can get entailed with that.
Right.
Here, you're kind of like, oh, they did that because they have no time. Right. Oh, they're doing that because they have no time.
You're cutting corners, you can
see
it.
And the acting's kind of silly, but once it ends, that last sentence, you're like, oh, this was kind of entertaining and good, So I kind of, anyways.
Yeah.
There's movies that make those little points.
One series that I love that I wished it got the traction. It really got poorly marketed. But I loved it so much. I'm reintroducing my wife. We're watching it together now. It's a series that came out 10 years ago now called Awake. So the premise of it is that it's a police detective, horrible car accident, rollover, whatever. He wakes up in the hospital and the doctor's, hey man, you were in a really terrible car accident. Your son is alive and your wife is dead. I'm really sorry. You want to see your son? He's kind of banged up, but he go visits him. Talks about the dead mom. They're crying, whatever. And then he goes to sleep. He wakes up in a hospital. The doctor comes to him and says, hey man, you were in a terrible car accident. Your wife's alive and your son is dead. So he's basically, every time he goes to sleep, he alternates reality. The accident happens and then his reality splits. Every time he goes to sleep, he wakes up in the other reality. In one reality, his wife is dead and his son is alive. In the other reality, his son is alive, his wife is dead.
Wow.
And so the story follows the detective. You're sitting here.
How emotionally fucked
It's an amazing story because you see his confusion. In each story, in each timeline, in each reality, he's a police officer and hey, listen, you had a terrible car accident. We need to assign.
Yeah, but in one reality, his wife dies and then he moves on and he has 2 new girlfriends and he's got his kid. But in the other one, I'm kidding.
And so then in the series they also have
a joke.
I get it.
Yeah.
In the series also, because he's a police officer and it's like you had a pretty traumatic event, we're going to assign you a psychotherapist. And so in each one he has a psychotherapist he's talking to. And he explains in each reality, like, hey, listen, so I've been having these dreams where my wife or my son is still alive. And the therapist says, okay, we get it. It's a coping mechanism. But remember, this is the real world. And that you need to let it go. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to go on with your life. And he's like, that's what the other therapist said.
Oof. Yeah.
So it's so well. And so what the other thing they do to help the viewer keep track of it is that when they shoot it, the reality where the wife is alive, they use sort of an orangey filter, and then this reality where the sun is alive, it's kind of a blue filter. So you can always tell which one he's in, and it just alternates back and forth, back and forth. He goes to sleep,
That's good directing.
Goes to sleep, wakes up, right? And he's a great, he's a detective, and so he's still working on cases. And then some of the more reality bleeds back and forth, where he's working on a case in one reality, but then information in his other world ends up helping him solve the case he's working on here. So wait, is it a fake? If it's fake, then why is the information there actually valid and real?
Is it like when he's awake here, his other reality's like asleep, and then when he gets to sleep here, it kind of like
it's unclear. The whole thing is it keeps teasing that, like, and you're trying to figure it out as well because you're only seeing from his perspective. Every time he goes to bed, he wakes up and it's an alternate. It just alternates. He knows that if he sleeps next to his wife, he's going to wake up, his wife's not going to be there, and his son's bedroom is suddenly going to be filled again. And the other reality, his wife is like there, and she's like, I want to move. I can't keep walking past this empty bedroom. I can't stand it. We got to sell this house. And so there's all the tension between, because he's like, as far as I'm concerned, you're both alive.
Yeah.
And so, and then in the reality where the son is alive, he's like, Dad, I mean, it's been a couple of months. Like, you should go and find somebody. You deserve to be happy. And then he's like, he sees this woman, he's attracted to her, but it feels like cheating because if I have sex with her and I wake up next to my wife, I'll feel like a piece of shit.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So there's a whole thing. It's really well
scary.
done, where all the emotions are just kind of like running back and forth. And originally he was telling his wife about it. I've been having dreams of our son, and his wife's like, I don't want to hear about it. Our son is dead. You keep talking about it. It's like torturing me. Stop. I can't keep you from having your dreams, but I don't want to hear about it anymore. Our son is dead. Stop talking about him. And so it's all these kinds of emotional conversations that this guy's kind of has to filter out as he's going through. So well done. And it didn't get, partially I think what kept it from succeeding was there's so much density of detail. Every shot has little subtle things. And if you're like on your phone device talking to somebody, you're missing details. You're going to miss a bunch of stuff, and it's going to get confusing because the little things will set up, like the payoff comes like 3 episodes later. But every detail matters. And so you have to watch it and just have no distractions, no phones, no anything. But I mean, I'm watching with my wife and I'm like pausing, like, hey, did you notice that? No. Let me zoom back a bit. So, you see that thing you did? It's going to come to, in 30 minutes, you'll see why I asked you to look at that thing. And then it comes like, oh shit. So that's, I think, why in an easily distractible age, if you just kind of watch it casually or you stumble into it at episode 2 or 3, you'll be like,
what's going on? This doesn't even make sense.
Right. So that's Awake. Love that series. So we're like 1 episode in, and it's like a 10. But because it didn't get the traction it deserved, 1 season, none. They didn't continue with it. But the story does end, but they were trying to like bait like a season 2, and that never happened. So I was like, But anyway, fantastic storytelling. I highly recommend.
I'll check it out.
Yeah,
I have to check it out. I usually don't watch much, but I'll
just watch the trailer, see it, see what you think of it, and then the first, it's
like
well
when
done.
I see seasons, I get scared.
Yeah, right. It's like a big commitment.
It's a huge commitment.
There's no commitment here. It's literally 10 episodes.
Yeah,
and it's also if you're in a relationship, you can have it sparks a lot of fascinating conversations as a parent, right? It's like the emotions of, because that's the thing. Imagine like losing a kid, and now you walk past your kid's room and it's empty, like the. Right?
Did you see? I haven't seen it, but a buddy of mine keeps talking about it, and it kind of bothers me. So I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
But Deep Water,
no.
It's Ben Affleck and
losing a kid.
And no.
Okay.
I don't want to say worse. It's not worse, but it's pretty bad.
Okay.
And the Cuban girl, Santen Armas. She was the James Bond girl.
Oh, okay.
The Cuban girl.
Okay.
And it's just about. They're married.
Yeah.
And she's fucking everybody, like in front of him. And he's like watching, and then it starts like, and he's like, and he kind of accepts it, but it's so provocative.
Right.
Like, I was just watching the trailer. I was like, I can't watch this.
Yeah, man.
I'll go crazy. Bro. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's like, bro, you don't understand how like and this is my friend's a single guy, but he's like, even him, he was like, right? You got to watch it. It was well done in that sense. And I was like, no. I saw that trailer. I go, no, thank you. No, thank you. That trailer was enough to make any man murder.
Yeah. It's like, I get it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, now here it's a situation where it's like, okay, well, it's interesting. All of these kinds of emotional journeys that this is one of the things I think that as men, one of the hard things is how do you process and sort out emotions in a healthy way? I think there's this whole like, it's okay for men to cry, whatever. That element, it's like a weird overcorrection from the stoic, like, okay, well, there's a time and place to be emotional. And then now we overcorrect in the direction of, oh, you can express yourself. It's manly to cry in front of your woman or whatever. It's like,
no,
is
it's
it
not.
though?
No, it's not. It's not.
It's like not like never cry, but it's like, okay, there's stuff that's emotionally devastating. You sort that out among your brothers.
You got to deal with it.
Yeah,
exactly.
And among your trust, and I think that's something that we don't really have anymore. And the other thing, I think this is one of the things that I feel has been damaged a lot of male friendships is that before it's like you can have close male friends. Now it's like, oh, it's okay if you're gay. It's like we're not fucking. We're just spending a lot of time together because we like each other. Oh, it's
right.
It's like you must be in the closet. It's like, and then that becomes a thing where every single close male friendship has this sort of this edge. I mean, again, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's also like not every close male friendship has some secret like behind the scenes. Oh, you don't have to be ashamed of the fact that it's the modern age and whatever. It's like that had nothing to do with it. But now you create this weird tension between guys where you can't spend time together or whatever because it's the implication. So that creates some weird...
so much judgment.
Right.
So much judgment.
Right. And it becomes... And that's I think that's something that we need to kind of be better at sorting out and be able to...
I got a buddy of mine, he got out of the military, and they have those little saying and shit. And, and then I'm like, that's gay, bro.
Yeah.
And he's all, it's only gay if you like it.
Ah!
I'm like, And the way he said it, like, it's only gay if you like it. Like he didn't like it. I don't know what happened, but it was so fucking funny. So it's become
it's terrible.
It makes sense, like. Shout out to
Gene.
I'll just leave it at that. And then another thing I want to talk about. We'll end up on this topic because I wanted to bring something up. But you were talking about you put in the bid for your Ducati.
Yes.
And as your wife is pregnant.
Yes.
and you just put in this bid because it's kind of like an eBay thing where you're like, I'm not going to win this. Like, this is too good to be true.
Right.
You win, and then
so I mean, I have friends that are like multimillionaires. Their wives don't work. They provide the entirety of the household. Toys, everything, and they would still have to like run things by their wives, and if they bought something and the wife didn't know about it ahead of time, they would get mad at them, whatever, right? And so I'm sitting here like, I'm not anywhere near that level of wealth, and I was like the lowball bid, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna win this. Oh my god, I won this thing. So I told my wife like, hey, listen, so that Ducati I was talking about, it turned out my lowball bid was the high bid, and then her first word out of her mouth was, oh, so you got that thing you wanted? Because she's like, I know you. You don't like pay full price for anything. So clearly you got a really good price. So that's pretty good.
That's
like right out of her mouth, not like, what did you do? Why did you?
Another motorcycle. We're about to have a baby.
Exactly, literally like any other guy. And when I mention this to other motorcycle riders, they're so salty. They're like, oh. No. They're so mad.
Yeah,
there's no way. How do you?
So in 2009, my oldest, my ex-wife, she was pregnant.
Yep.
And it was 2009. I was working at the Harley Davidson dealer in Van Nuys.
Okay.
And I bought what to me at that point was the last motorcycle I was going to own because I was going to have a newborn baby.
Right.
And that's it. So it was a 2008 Road Glide.
Okay.
And this is when road glides weren't cool. Like, this is like when they were about to stop it, and Clockworks started making a windshield, and that kind of made it cool. And then I started fixing it up because I was at the dealer, right? So I fix it up. My son's going to be born in 1 week. Oof. And this is a shout out to Kevin James. Kevin James comes in, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to Boston. I'm going to ride my motorcycle, and I'm going to go on the RV, blah, blah, blah. It's going to follow me, and I'm going to ride up there.
Yep.
And my other buddy, Dean Del Rey, he's a comedian. He's a badass. We started doing comedy together.
Nice.
Back in the days. He starts telling Kevin James, like, you don't want to go on this, like, I think it was a Dyna.
Okay.
So you don't want to ride a Dyna to Boston. You want to go on something like this. And Kevin James is like, you're right. This is nice. Look at the shield. Look at this. Look at that. I'll take it. Dean comes running to me and he goes, hey, Kevin James wants to buy your bike. And I said, hey, I'm not selling it. My son's going to be born next week. If my son's born and I don't have a bike in my possession, I'll probably never be able to get a motorcycle. Like, the end. Especially when you're working at a dealer, you don't make much money, right?
Yes.
So anyways, they go back and forth. Kevin James is kicking tires. And let me remind you, in 2009, Harley was still like what you see is what you get.
Right.
If you want to put a deposit on something and wait a long time, you could do that. But you're not going to walk into any dealer and get whatever you want.
Yep.
Long story short, Dean comes up to me and he says, he'll cut you a check, 30 grand. And I was like, here's the keys, here's the pink slip, thank you very much, this, that. And then I ended up buying, 2 days later, Dean found an FX-DXT, which again, they weren't that popular, but now they're fucking gold. And this attorney in Beverly Hills bought it from Glendale Harley, spent like $15,000.
Nice.
And I picked that up for like 12.
Nice.
And I was like, all right, cool. So now I have this bike.
Plus
my son was
profit.
born,
You got a little...
and I had a profit, and life was good. Kevin James, you need to be on the podcast. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about that Boston trip.
That sounds awesome.
So, but
things have a way of working out, I think, if you have the right vibe and the right mojo. I think that's been something that has worked out well for me. And it's interesting because a lot of it does come to like having a good outlook and because I know that there are phases in my life when I had kind of a shitty attitude about life. And that's when I felt I was unlucky. Like the stuff that I was going for, things don't pan out. Girls I was attracted to just went up with other dudes. Business deals I'm trying to close just keep eluding me. And then my attitude got shittier, and then my luck got worse, and it became this interesting death spiral. Whereas the other way around, if you have a good attitude, you're helping people, you're positive. I mean, I don't want to go as far as like, The Secret or manifesting or whatever. I feel like it's very woo-woo, but at some level, it seems to kind of work. I think that there's an element of attitude that affects the outcome of the world. It could just be like the people reacting to a more positive vibe, and then as a result of that, things happen in a way that if you're
there's
cynical,
nothing wrong with thinking positive and doing good in life.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. Well, you could argue that
you be a Pollyanna.
Nice guys finish last. You
it's
could
more like
argue that people take advantage of nice people because I 100% feel a victim of doing too much and
overextending yourself.
And it's like, dude, what the fuck are like sometimes I feel like life is saying, Robert, be more of an asshole. Like, be an asshole. It's
a weird balancing act of it's in game theory terms they call it tit for tat. It's like, okay, I'll do for you what you do for me. Kind of I'll start by being generous and open and trusting. That's a default, and then watch how people behave, and then you can adjust your behavior accordingly. If someone acts dishonorably towards you, reduce your interaction with them or cut them off entirely. If they return the energy back, then you can redouble your efforts. I think that's a more sustainable overall life strategy. It's like it's not just everyone gets treated the same. It's like everyone gets treated at first positively. I'm going to assume good things about everybody, and if you've proven yourself to be dishonorable, shady, whatever, then okay.
Do you think in general everybody's about the same going through this, or do you think there's like, because I strongly believe Los Angeles, it's more difficult. There's just more fake people, and
possibly
or is like the percentage per capita,
It's hard. I mean, we're interacting with a very weird subset of people, so I don't know. And at some level, it's like we're not going to interact with every single person in LA. Remember, the average person in America makes like what, $40,000 a year.
Isn't the household income, the average in the United States is 57?
Household, which means So are you meeting, how many people do you know are two people making 25 grand a year? Do you know anyone like that? This is the average in America, and we don't. So we're already dealing with not the average person. And the average person in America cannot handle a $400 emergency. It's grim, and it's like something that 56% of Americans could not. If you had a $400 emergency, something happened, something broke, and it cost $400, 56% of Americans would have to sell something, borrow money, whatever, to cover that $400 hit.
Isn't it 80% are two paychecks away from
something
being
like
homeless?
So that's the thing. It's like to answer your question, it's like I don't know, and at some level, it's kind of not relevant. Because the point of it really is wherever you are, the point is what are the people that are above you doing and how can you level up? Wherever you are, you start off, and it was actually, I just wrote an essay recently on this topic. It's like, if you believe in a lot of movies and TVs talk about multiverse, the idea of a parallel universe, whatever. I don't know if you believe it or not. But I wrote an essay saying, if you believe in this thing, huh?
Sorry, is there a difference between multiverse and different dimensions? It's kind of
it's similar. Multiverses, yeah. It's the idea that there's parallel versions of you. Right. So the essay I wrote basically says that there's a parallel version of you with your face and your name, and he's kicking your ass because you know what? Every time you skip a workout, he goes to the workout. Every time you eat that dessert, he's passing the dessert and eats a piece of fruit instead. Every time you have a business deal where you're like, I don't want to call this prospect, he calls that prospect, gets the money. Every time you're about to get into a stupid argument online, this guy skips it and calls one of his friends and spends time with someone that actually cares about him. And then imagine the benefits that compound year after year, decade after decade. And At the end of your life, imagine you meet that person, that better version of you that did everything right that you skipped out on. And how much more. And so there's a notion that the Buddhist definition of hell is at the end of your life, you meet the person you could have been, and you have all of eternity to contemplate just how much you let yourself down.
Yeah, fuck. Somebody talked about something very similar, and the way they broke it down is they said, imagine your social media presence or your talent or your writing or whatever your talents are.
Right.
Imagine they're obviously a piece of you.
Yes.
And they're fighting, the fitness guy, the eating healthy, the same thing,
right?
And they're coming up to you and they're like, "Hey, do this, and your mind's like, like no, and it's like, let me shine, do a podcast every day, whatever that talent is,
right? And
you shut it down, and imagine all the things you wanted to do you don't do, and now you're at your dying bed, and now these are ghosts looking at you and
could have been done. You have decades to do it. Plenty of time to do it.
You never brought me out.
Yeah.
You never brought me out. Nobody will ever know about me.
Yep.
You kept me, like
just busy getting to arguments with strangers on Twitter,
Yeah. It's
right?
It's mind-boggling.
So
it's deep.
That's the thing I think is like,
and it's weird because people are so worried about what's funny is when something's good for you, people talk shit. And when something's bad for you, people are like, it's
It's because people want to feel better about their own bad behaviors. That's why. So the idea is you want to kind of surround yourself with people that are leveling up, people that if you hold yourself to high standards, the goal is, number one, don't be an arrogant ass. Just because you hold yourself to higher standards than 98% of people, the smart thing to do is figure out the 2% that are doing better than you. What are they doing? How can I be worthy of their company that they consider you their peer? And I think that's what I kind of focus on. It's like, okay, fine, hold myself to high standards. It doesn't mean, I'm so much better than them. I'm lording my, I can handle a $400 emergency. You guys are all losers. Like, fine, you can do that. But remember, there are guys that can handle $1 million emergency. Hey, my kid is sick and there's some exotic treatment that's going to cost $500,000. Okay, fine. That's what it is.
Yeah, no problem. Let's do it.
Whatever, right? There are people that are in that position. And
there's people that are not.
Right. And so the idea is how can you move further and further up? Because these people, they exist and they're still serving their community. They're earning what they're earning. They've got the relationships they've got. It's like, what can I do to make myself further closer to those kinds of archetypes? And I think that's a healthier way to go through life than just trying to feel better about all the people you've left behind. I mean, if you work hard, if you make money, you are going to leave people behind, and that's fine. But that's why I don't like social media, because a lot of it is just flexing on the poor. Just, ooh, look at the cool toys I have that you don't. And it's like, it's nice, but it's not everything. And I think focusing upwards on what can I do that I'm not doing now? What is someone who's like 10, 15% better than me doing that I'm not doing? And then get on it. I mean, there's stuff that you can't do. Like, no matter how hard we train, we'll never be a Navy SEAL or an Olympic athlete. There's stuff that's out of reach, period, no matter how hard you work. But there are things that...
Never say never.
Well,
never say never.
But
if you want to be a Navy SEAL, you can be a Navy SEAL, okay? Don't listen to them. People like you.
I'm the dream killer, yes.
All right, yeah. But I really do believe people can, like David Goggins.
Yeah.
Are you
familiar with him?
Did you read his book?
I have not.
It's interesting because the way he talks about Hell Week and the Navy SEALs and everything, he really breaks it down into the sense of it's a mind fuck.
Yes,
it's
that's
not
the whole point of it.
It's not the physical part of it. It's just your mind. And if you say I'm going to do this no matter what, you'll find the will to do it no matter what.
It's a test of resolve.
But that's the whole point, That's why they keep you up for 3 fucking days and then ask you a bunch of questions and make you feel weak, because it's more of a mind game more than a physical game.
The first to drop out are always the athletes,
right?
It's not an extra. It's not who's the best at running and swimming. It's like clearly, everyone's going to be at some level of shape. That's not the point of it.
Yeah.
And so the ones who think that's the point of it, they're the ones the first that crack.
And it's interesting. And then I'm going to bring it even deeper than that. But it's interesting because we live in a country, and I've had this conversation a few times, more recently than ever. But it's interesting that if you're born in America and you went to schools in America, there's this whole fucking program of you cannot do this, you cannot do that, be afraid of cops, be afraid of this. Yeah. You try to get a good job, be a good employee, show up on time. This is your only options. Like, there's a whole fucking brainwash.
Indoctrination that's going on there for sure. So,
it's so big, dude. Like,
topic for another conversation. I would definitely like to explore that. I've got a lot of thoughts on that, but we got to wrap up, I think, here.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. We covered the motorcycle. We covered the event. You want to say it one more time for the listeners?
TopGun.eventb.com. TopGun.event B as in boy, EE.com, and it will be on May 25th. It will be an amazing event for
private theater 2 days before anything.
Yes,
before
indeed.
any other theater that's out.
Yes, indeed. We're super
amazing.
psyched for it. It's going to be awesome.
Kai, thank you very much.
Tremendous pleasure, man. Always a pleasure.
Talk to you soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Not bad.
Fun. Hour and 9 minutes.
Okay.
You want to change it?
I was gonna say like the event